Good morning to all of my beautiful butterflies. How was your day today? I want to say on my Periscope people, you all can see my Safe Wife shirt. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit so you all can see it on Facebook. This is my Safe Wife shirt. Hi, everyone. How are my beautiful butterflies doing? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for jumping on Periscope. How are you today? How are you this beautiful, beautiful morning? I know I'm excited. I'm very excited because I get a chance to talk to you all. I get a chance to come on and see well, you get to see my face, and then I get to see your comments, and we get to chat. I give you all some insight and some information pertaining to domestic violence. If you can, please share, like, and share this. I am going to put this on share it onto YouTube, and then also share it onto, I'm trying to get rid of that. And then also share it on my main page. So thank you, thank you, thank you for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Let's see who that is. Hi, Adina. Hi, thank you for jumping on. For those that do not know who I am Quiana Carter. I am the president of Safe Wife. Safe Wife is Wife Talks domestic and sexual violence support program. And I am coming on today for our Safe Wife Saturday, which what I do is I pretty much answer questions. I provide information pertaining to domestic and sexual violence and bring awareness to this very, very horrible epidemic that is happening within our country, actually throughout the world. So what I do is I come on here and I show my beautiful face. Hey, hey girl, hey. And hi Lillian, thank you for jumping on. Appreciate it. Good morning, good morning. It's good morning to some, it's good evening, I'm sorry, good afternoon to others. So it all depends on where you're at. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Again, I am Quiana Carter. I am the president of Safe Wife, and I am here to chat. If you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, please type them in. I am on Periscope, so if you see me looking to my left, your right, then I am trying to see if anybody has any questions on the Periscope side. So thank you for all my current viewers and my repeat viewers. Thank you. Are you feeling okay? Beautiful. I'm a little stuffy. Since we came back from Arizona, I got a little bit sick, but other than that, I am very well. I am doing fine. Thank you very much for asking. But Good morning, Latrice. Thank you very much for jumping on. Thank you, beautiful. I appreciate it. Okay, so what I want to first start off doing is giving people a little information pertaining to domestic violence. Some people really don't, they know what domestic violence is, but then again, they only have one perception of domestic violence. So the term domestic violence includes a felony or misdemeanor of crimes of violence committed by a current or a former spouse or partner or intimate partner to a victim, by a person who shares, they can share a common space, they can share children, they can be within a relationship. So that is really what domestic violence is any type of violence that is happening, and violence does not always have to be physical violence, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. So In an emergency, I do want to let you all know, in an emergency, then please, should you find yourself in a domestic or sexual violence situation, or if you know someone that is, then you should call 911, or your local law enforcement. You should call 911 or your local law enforcement, and then who can respond to these type of crimes. Individuals in need of emergency assistance, you can always call the National Domestic Violence Hotline number. Good morning, Erica. Good morning, Sonia. Thank you for jumping on. Sanja, I'm sorry. Thank you for jumping on. The national domestic violence number is 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-SAF, as in Frank, E as in elephant. So that is a number that you can contact. Eventually down the line, Safe Wife will have our own hotline number, our call center. So look forward to that. So domestic violence and abuse can happen to anyone, yet the problem is often overlooked, excused, or denied. This is especially true when the abuse is psychological rather than physical. So I was mentioning earlier that domestic violence does not always have to be physical. It's actually not always physical. Most of the time, it is verbal abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, psychological abuse. So those are the most common types of domestic abuse because you can't really see it. It's more internal scars than it is physical on the outside. Now, both actually all can happen in one specific situation, but most domestic violence is not always physical. You can't always see it. And if it is physical, it's probably somewhere where it's not visible. It might be someplace that's always covered up. Okay, so what is domestic violence and abuse? When people think of it, again, they always focus on the domestic violence side of it instead of the other sides that I had mentioned before. Domestic abuse often escalates from threats of verbal abuse, and while physical injury may be obviously dangerous, the emotional and psychological consequences of domestic abuse are very severe. So we want to make sure that we look out for signs. No one should ever endure this type of pain when they are in some type of relationship. And most of the time, they don't want to go through this. So we don't want to accuse the victim of taking it or withholding it, or saying, why are you there? Because if you've ever had someone play on your psyche, then you won't really understand why they feel that they need to be so in depth to this relationship. Good morning, Demi. Thank you for jumping on. So, signs of an abusive relationship. There are many signs of an abusive relationship. The most telling sign is fear. So sometimes if you see that the person fears their partner, then that is more than likely a sign that there is some type of domestic or sexual abuse happening in that relationship. If you feel like you have to walk on eggshells around your partner, then that could possibly be a sign of domestic abuse or domestic violence. Constantly watching what you say and what you do in order to avoid a blow up or an argument, that is an unhealthy and abusive relationship. Other signs that you may be in an abusive relationship include your partner always belittling you, trying to control you, feel self-loathing, helpless, or desperation. So those are some signs of being in a domestic violence relationship. To determine whether your relationship is abusive, answer the questions that I'm going to ask you. And if you say yes, if more yes answers, um, if you have more yes than no's, then more than likely you are in an abusive relationship. And I'm going to ask 6 questions. 6 questions, okay? If you answer more yeses than no's, then you might be in an abusive relationship. Okay, do you feel afraid if your partner feel afraid of your partner most of the time? That's a question. Do you avoid certain topics out of fear of angering your partner, not arguing with the person, of getting them angry? So, do you fear or avoid certain topics because you don't want to make this person angry? That's number 2. Do you feel that you can't do anything right for your partner? That is a question. Do you believe that you deserve to be hurt or mistreated? That is a question. Do you wonder if you're the one who is crazy? So if you're always second guessing yourself when something happens, when something blows up, when there is thank you for jumping on, Paula. I appreciate it. Good morning, Channing. Good morning, Butterfly. If you always if you feel that you might be the one that's crazy, or you might be the one that is tripping or whatever, and you clearly are the one that is being abused or put down, then that is a question to ask yourself, is if I am in an abusive relationship. Do you feel emotionally numb or helpless? So those are the 6 questions that you need to ask yourself about your relationship. Um, just one moment. Shakenya, sorry guys, my grandson just came in my office, so I do apologize about that. So those are the questions that you would need to ask yourself about your relationship. So your partner's belittling behavior. Does your partner humiliate you or yell at you? So that's a question. If you say yes to that, then you could possibly be in an abusive relationship. Does your partner criticize you or put you down? Does your partner treat you so badly that you're embarrassed for your friends and family to see it? That those are signs that you're in an abusive relationship. Thank you for jumping on, Laura. I appreciate it, Butterfly. Does your partner ignore or put down your opinions or accomplishments? Now, sometimes, sometimes you can have an off the wall opinion, and we're not talking about that. Like, you be like, okay, well, yeah, that really didn't make sense. But is this a constant thing? If they don't listen to your opinions, if they also constantly shut you down, any accomplishments that you make, oh, it's nothing, whatever, anybody can do that, you didn't do anything, or say it's nothing at all, then think about it. Even though they're not physically touching you, that's abuse. That's emotional. That works on, your emotions. That makes you feel bad. That makes you feel worthless, or helpless. So those are signs, not to say that this is an abusive relationship, but those are signs that you could possibly be in an abusive relationship. And does your partner blame you for their own abusive behaviors? Or considers you as their property or sex object rather than a person. So, in our name for Safe Wife is domestic and sexual violence support, because sexual violence happens in a lot of domestic violence relationships. Just because you're married, just because you're engaged, just because you're dating, does not mean that your partner has the right to force himself on you, or to make you do certain sexual acts that you are not comfortable with, or things that you don't want to do. So if they consider you as their property or a sex object rather than a person, then those are signs that you are in abusive and or in sexual abusive relationship. Now, your partner's violent behavior or threats. Okay. Now I'm giving signs. What I'm doing now for those that just jumped on is I'm giving signs of what you can look out for to try to determine if you are or could possibly be in an abusive relationship. Excuse me just one moment, guys. Y'all see my wife's talk up in my safe white shirt. Okay, back to business. Okay, so does your partner have a bad or unpredictable temper? So that is a question you need to ask yourself. And again, if you're answering yes to more questions than you're answering no, then you might want to just take a step back, reevaluate, have a couple of conversations to yourself, and then also to who you feel comfortable with. And it could possibly be your partner say, I've noticed these things, and I ask myself these things. Now, if you're comfortable with doing that, then I will recommend doing that. If not, then I will recommend for you to get someone that you trust that is able to assist you. So again, we're going to go ahead and go through some questions. Answer yes or no. Okay. So, and this is pertaining to violent behavior or threats. So, does your partner have a bad or unpredictable temper? Yes or no? Does your partner hurt you or threaten to hurt or kill you or your children? Okay. Does your partner threaten to take away your children? That is a question. Um, does your partner threaten to commit suicide if you leave? Does your partner force you to have sex? And does your partner destroy your belongings? So that is up under the category of the partner's violent behavior or threats. If you've answered yes to most of those questions, then you could possibly be in an abusive relationship. Good morning, Marcia. Good morning, Paula Williams, Henderson. Hey, Butterfly. Shakita, thank you. Thank you guys for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Good morning. So those are the ones about the behavior. Now, the violent behavior or threats. Now, these are questions that you can ask yourself about your partner's controlling behavior. And what I'm doing today with the tips today, these are to look for signs to see if you are in an abusive relationship. And then you can also use these questions for a close family member or friend to see if they are in an abusive relationship as well. Okay. Now, these are questions that you can ask yourself about your partner's controlling behavior. Does your partner act excessively jealous or possessive? Does your partner, yes or no, does your partner control you with where you go and what you do? Does your partner keep you from seeing your friends and family? Yes or no? Don't answer on here. If you want to, you can. But these are questions that you want to ask yourself. Does your partner limit your access to money, the phone, or the car? And does your partner constantly check up on you? So those are questions that you can ask yourself. You can always go through the replay for the questions. I don't want to be on here too long, so I'm not going to repeat all of the questions, but you can definitely watch the replay so that you are able to take a look at the questions and answer them to yourself. So physical and sexual abuse. Now, physical abuse is huge, a force of physical force against someone in a way that injures or endangers that person. Now, with the sexual side of it, this is forced sex, even by a spouse or an intimate partner to whom you have had consensual sex with, But what they're doing at this point is now making it very aggressive, and they're forcing you to have sexual encounters with them. So if you, good morning, Marcia. Thank you for jumping on. Oh, I said good morning. Sorry. Um, um, so if the person is forcing you to have sexual relationships or have sex with them, then that can be a sexual abusive relationship. Now, it is still domestic violence abuse if the incidence of physical abuse seems minor. Just because it's not a lot of it can be pinching, it can be thumping, it can be the mushing of the head, it can be any of those things that will still be and still are considered as violence. So it doesn't have to be, punching you in the face and making you bleed and, all of that other kind of stuff. Even if it seems minor, that is still abuse. Okay. It is still domestic abuse if the incident of physical abuse have only occurred one or two times in your relationship. So it doesn't have to happen all the time. Studies indicate that if your spouse or partner has injured you once, it is most likely that they can do it again and they will do it again. Okay? It is still domestic abuse if the physical assault stops when you become passive. That just means that whatever you're doing is what they have controlled you to do. So now you are acting in the manner that they want you to act in. And that's the excuse that they use for the violence. So if you act like this, I won't hit you. If you say this, I won't hit you. If you say this, I will hit you. So if you become passive, then it's still abuse because now it's mental, it's psychological, it's verbal. Okay. It is still domestic abuse if there has not been any physical violence. Many people are emotionally and verbally assaulted. This can be just as frightening and more confusing to understand. So a lot of people don't really understand the emotional side of it. Okay, so the economics and financial side of it, if your partner controls your finances, if they hold your money or your credit cards, if they make your account, make you account for every penny that you spend, that is a sign of some type of domestic violence. Um, Thank you, God, for your passion and certainly. Thank you, Paula. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kathy, for jumping on, and thank you, Tam, for jumping on. I appreciate it. Thank you, Paula. I really appreciate that compliment. Thank you for everything that you do as well. If your a partner restricts you to an allowance, preventing you from working and choosing on your own career, if they sabotage your job by making you miss work or constantly calling you or constantly showing up at your job or anything like that, then that is a sign of emotional abuse. Stealing or taking your money, those are signs of financial and emotional abuse, guys. So these are things that abusive behavior is the abuser's choice. Okay, so I want you all to not think that domestic and sexual abuse is your fault, that you did anything, that you said anything. We all have free will, we all have the choice and the mindset to know right from wrong and to know what we're doing is good or bad. So it's not on you, it's not your fault if you are in a domestic relationship. It's not your fault if you have been physically abused. It is not your fault if you've been sexually abused. It is not your fault. I just want you all to know it's not your fault. Okay? I just wanted to say that. Okay. So despite what many people believe, domestic violence and abuse is not due to the abuser's loss of control over their behavior. In fact, abusive behavior and violence is a deliberate choice made by the abuser in order to control you. Abusers use a variety of tactics to manipulate you and to exert their power, including dominance, humiliation, isolation, threats, intimidation, denial, and blame. Okay. The abuser picks and choose the person whom they choose to abuse. So they know who they can get away with it with and who they can't get away with it with. Um, they With the abuse, your abuser lashes out with aggressive, belittling, again, violent behavior. They can make you feel guilty for being abused. They can use excuses for that. They will have normal behavior either before or after that. Thank you for joining, Angela. Thank you for joining on Periscope. I had to remember what she was on. Appreciate it. Good morning, Tina. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning, beautiful butterflies. Thank you for jumping on. And then fantasy and planning. They do setup. So all of these things that I just called off can happen, and it's called a cycle. It's a cycle. So again, this is the cycle of a domestic abuse, and then I'm going to give an example of the cycle. Okay. Good morning. So they would do isolation, threats, intimidation, denial, and blame. Abusers pick and choose who they abuse. Abusers carefully choose when and where the abuse occurs. Abusers are able to stop their abusive behavior when it benefits them. Violent abusers usually direct their blows where they won't show. I mentioned that earlier. And then this is the order: abuse, guilt, excuses, normal behavior, fantasy planning, and setup. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you how the cycle works. Okay. So a man abuses his partner. After he hits her he experiences a self-direct guilt. He says, "I'm sorry for hurting you." What does he not say is because I'm sorry, what he does not say is because I might get caught. Okay. He then rationalizes his behavior by saying that his partner is having an affair with someone so he can make something up. He tells her, "If you weren't such a worthless whore," excuse my language, I wouldn't have hit you. So he tries to blame the guilt and then rationalize why he hit her. Okay. He then acts he is reassuring her that he won't hurt her again. So, and then he then fantasizes and reflects on the past abuse and how he will hurt you again. He plans on telling her to go to the store and get some groceries. What he withholds from her is that she has a certain amount of money and time for shopping, right? To go to the grocery store. So then when she is held up in traffic and a few minutes late, he feels justified in assaulting her because you're having an affair with the store clerk or something like that, which is the setup. So these are some of the cycles that can happen. And some of these people are narcissists. And narcissists really don't focus on the person that they're hurting. They mainly focus on themselves. It's all about him. So the whole thing that I just went over with the example of the cycle, he is planning it. He is thinking about what he's going to do, how he's going to do it. He set her up. So you want to just basically look for these signs. And these are do's and don'ts, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and end this. So do ask if something is wrong. And these are for people that feel that they are witnessing an abusive relationship. So these are things that you can do to help support and offer support as a friend, as a family member. So do ask if something is wrong. Do not wait for them to come to you. Do express concern. Do not judge or blame. Do listen and validate. Do not pressure them. Do offer help. Do not give advice. They don't need advice, they need support. Offer help. Do support their decisions. Do not place conditions on your support. So those are the do's and don'ts for someone that you feel that you want to help and that's in a violent relationship. So before my past videos, I put up checklists. I put up information that you can have access to in case you feel that you need to get away. I also suggested in my prior videos, and I will continue to say it, if you're going to help this person, help them. Be there with them at the doctor's office. Be there with them when they need a shoulder to cry on. Be able to help them do research as far as finding a place to go, food. If they need a ride because they're scared about going to work or coming home, be the support that they need. Don't just offer words. Don't just do that because that's not helpful. That's not being helpful. You need to physically be there for that person. So while accurate information for the intent of domestic violence is difficult to obtain because of underreporting, some aspects of the problem are unknown. Again, domestic violence is not confined to just one socio-economic, ethnic group, religion, race, age group. Domestic violence does not discriminate. It does not discriminate. It is everywhere. And I have an announcement before I go ahead and get off. Safe Wife, we are going to have a Facebook group starting in January. Now, I do have several social media outlets. I have Twitter, I have a YouTube channel, I have a Facebook business page. I have a website which is www.safewife.org. You can always go to the website. Thank you for the hearts. Oh, look at you. I also have what is it? Twitter, Facebook, and some other stuff. But we are going to have a Facebook group. It's going to be similar to this Wife Talk group that we have, which is private. It will be a closed group, a secret group, so that only those that will need support will be in this group. We will be here, will be victims and survivors. It's only for women that have experienced or that are experiencing any type of domestic and sexual abuse. We are going to build a community of support so that we can inspire, encourage, uplift those that are going through this and those that have went through it. So, and this is where we will initially provide majority of our, thank you, Angela, where this is where we will initially provide most of our information, and then we will spread it out. So if you would like to be a part of that group, if you've experienced any type of domestic violence, sexual violence, whether it's current or in the past, then please hit me up. You can hit me in my inbox. Again, it's not available now. This will be available in January 2019. We're working on that, and we will have an amazing support group for all of our lovely women that will need assistance. So that is all for today. Those are some of the tips to look for to see if you are in a domestic violent relationship or to see if one of your loved ones are. And you can use this at any time. Thank you, my beautiful butterflies. Thank you, Erica. Yes, that is amazing. That is awesome. So thank you, my beautiful butterflies. Thank you for everyone that jumped on. Thank you for everyone that will watch the replay. I love you. I adore you. And you have a wonderfully blessed day. Good night. Or have a good day. It's not night. Have an awesome day. I love you too, Angela.